I'm sorry, but Scott Jennings is a lying sack of shit. He never spoke to Mitch McConnell.
Do you think he'd be willing to call into the show? Could we get him on the phone now?
I wasn't really expecting him to call this morning, to be honest. So when the phone rang and I was able to talk to him, I was frankly pretty grateful. I mean, as I said, I've known him since I was a teenager. If it hadn't been for Mitch McConnell and the McConnell Center at the University of Louisville, I would never have been able to go to college. He's been my mentor and he changed the trajectory of my life. So, when things happen to him and happen to people in your life that you really care about, you just sort of naturally feel extremely worried. So when I heard his voice today and he was clearly keeping up with stuff, that made me happy to hear from him. Because like everybody else, I've been, somewhat in the dark about it. But to hear him talking and to know that he's also talking to the Senate leadership, it made me pretty happy.
The MAGA media ecosphere, shall we say, has been driving a lot of the questions about where Mitch McConnell has been and what has happened to him. You, of course, are in tune with that in the role you have on your radio show. Do you think they should put out a picture of Mitch McConnell, that he should release more to the public to quiet this noise?
Yeah, I think Al had a good point about McConnell's general disposition towards privacy. I sometimes wonder, if I were laying in a hospital bed, would I want a bunch of people around photographing me? Probably not, particularly if I were an 84-year-old person who's normally private about his health. Probably not. But I take the criticism. I think it's a fair question about transparency. I think it's a fair question about whether they've done enough. But ultimately, these office holders, they're in charge of their own operations. And it may be somebody around him says, let's put out a picture, and he doesn't want to do it. I think that's a fair observation from Al. But all I can tell you today is all the rumors about him being dead or brain dead or his body's being hidden somewhere. I've seen all kinds of crazy things on the internet. That's obviously not true because he picked up the phone and called me, and that was a good thing.
All right. Well, let him know. Our phone lines are open here at the arena. Should he
Long-time listener, first-time
wish
caller.
to call in, as someone who covered many of his Senate campaigns, not as many, of course, as Al Cross, but a couple. Al, thank you very much.
I don't believe for a minute Scott Jennings spoke to him, but pull the phone record, show us. But more to the point, I'm sorry, when you are Mitch McConnell, when you're Nancy Pelosi, when you're Chuck Schumer or Chuck Grassley, when you're one of these folks, no, your health is center stage. You are one of 100 senators, and you have been one of the most influential and powerful senators for decades. No, the public deserves to know where you are. The public deserves to know what status your health is. The public deserves to know whether or not you are alive, whether or not you are conscious, whether or not you can speak, if you're coherent, if you're brain dead, if you're with it. I don't believe for a minute that Scott Jennings spoke to him. I think it's all bullshit. But yeah, the public does get to know. You chose that life, and with that life comes this. You serve not just the people of Kentucky, but the people of this country. And they deserve to know. And that goes for Democrat or Republican, independent. When it's Bernie's time, the world needs to know. The country needs to know where it stands, just like it does here.